If you are between 75 and 85, or you love someone who is, I want to begin with something reassuring. Aging exceptionally well does not mean you move like you did at 35. It does not mean you never get tired, never feel stiff, and never need help with anything. That is not real life. Aging well means something much more meaningful. It means your body still answers when life calls on it. It means your mind still stays present. It means you can still do ordinary things with enough strength, balance, memory, and confidence to remain truly independent. I'm Dr. Olivia Hart, and over the years I've noticed that the older adults who age the best are not always the ones with the perfect lab results or the most expensive health routines. Very often, they are the ones who quietly keep doing a small set of important things. They stand up without fear. They walk with purpose. They carry what needs carrying. They recover when life throws them off balance. They stay mentally engaged. And perhaps most importantly, they stay connected to other people and to a reason for getting up in the morning. That is why today I want to give you 6 clear signs that someone between 75 and 85 is aging exceptionally well. These are not flashy signs. They are not about vanity. They are about function. They are about freedom. They are about whether you can keep living life on your terms instead of shrinking your life little by little without even realizing it. And let me say something else before we begin. If one of these things feels harder for you than it used to, that does not mean you have failed. It does not mean your best years are behind you. It simply means your body is asking for attention, and your life may improve more than you expect if you listen early. The goal is not perfection. The goal is preservation. The goal is to hold on to the abilities that matter most for as long as possible. So let's count them down, from number 6 to number 1, and stay with me, because the final one is the most overlooked of all. It is also the one that often determines whether the later years of life feel small and lonely, or rich and deeply worth living. Number 6. You can stand up from a chair without needing a major push. This may sound almost too simple to matter, but it matters a great deal. The ability to rise from a chair smoothly is one of the clearest everyday signs of lower body strength, joint function, coordination, and confidence. Most people do not think twice about it until it starts to disappear. But when standing up becomes difficult, many other problems tend to follow. Stairs become harder. Getting out of a car becomes awkward. Using the bathroom takes more effort. Fatigue appears earlier in the day. And little by little, people start avoiding movement because every transition feels like work. When I say standing up from a chair, I do not mean launching yourself upward with momentum and both arms pressing hard on the armrests. I mean you can shift forward, put your feet under you, engage your legs, and rise in a controlled way. Maybe not fast, maybe not elegantly every single time, but without that feeling of panic or strain that says, I hope I can get up. That one motion tells us a lot. It tells us something about the strength of your thighs and hips. It tells us about the condition of your knees and ankles. It tells us whether your nervous system and muscles still communicate well. It also tells us about confidence, because people who trust their bodies tend to move more, and people who move more usually preserve function longer. Think about it this way. Every day of life includes transitions. You sit down, you stand up, you get in bed, you get out of bed, you enter a car, you leave a car, you lower yourself to a toilet seat, you rise again. If these transitions remain easy enough, you keep your dignity, you keep your pace, you keep your independence, in dozens of small moments that most younger people never even notice. What helps preserve this ability is not extreme exercise. It is regular use. Squats to a safe depth, sitting down slowly instead of dropping into a chair, standing up a few extra times during the day, gentle leg strengthening, walking, step-ups on a low stair, balance work while holding onto a stable surface. None of that sounds dramatic, but it is exactly the sort of plain, repeatable work that helps people stay capable into their late 70s and 80s. And here is what I want you to remember. If you can still get up from a chair with control, you are not just showing leg strength. You are showing that your body still has reserve, you still have something in the tank. That is a wonderful sign. Number 5. You can walk with purpose, not just shuffle from room to room. There is a major difference between moving and truly walking. A great many people in later life are technically still mobile, but their world has quietly shrunk to a few short indoor routes. Bedroom to kitchen, kitchen to bathroom, bathroom to couch, couch to front door. That is movement, yes, but it is not the same as having enough endurance, rhythm, and confidence to walk with purpose. Aging exceptionally well often shows up in the way a person walks, not in perfect speed, not in athletic form, but in the ability to move forward with enough steadiness to handle real life. You can walk through a grocery store without needing to stop every few minutes. You can cross a parking lot without feeling anxious. You can take a walk outside and still hold a conversation. You can keep going long enough for your body to warm up instead of shutting down after the first few minutes. Walking well tells us a great deal. It tells us something about heart and lung endurance. It tells us about posture. It tells us about coordination, foot strength, balance, and confidence in changing environments. It also tells us something about the brain, because walking is not just a leg activity. It is a full-body conversation between your senses, your muscles, and your nervous system. Many older adults stop walking with purpose long before they absolutely have to. They slow down because they are afraid of falling. They stay indoors because they feel unsure on uneven ground. They shorten their stride because stiffness has crept in. They begin to conserve energy because everything feels more tiring. And the tragic part is that this often becomes a cycle. The less they walk, the weaker they become. The weaker they become, the more walking feels difficult. The more difficult it feels, the smaller their world gets. But when someone between 75 and 85 still walks with intention, that is a powerful sign. It means they have maintained more than motion. They have maintained access to life. They can go places. They can join things. They can decide on the spur of the moment to get out of the house and trust that their body will support them. One of the simplest ways to judge this is not speed alone. It is whether walking still looks natural. Are the arms swinging at least a little? Is the head upright? Is the step steady rather than hesitant? Can the person turn without looking fragile? Can they talk while walking without sounding overwhelmed? Those are everyday markers of resilience. And if walking has started to decline, it is worth taking seriously early. Sometimes the answer is as simple as stronger shoes, more leg strength, better lighting, improved hydration, a mobility aid that restores confidence, or a walking routine that slowly rebuilds stamina. The point is not to pretend walking never changes with age. It does. The point is to protect it before it slips away. If you can still walk with purpose between 75 and 85, that is not ordinary. That is one of the clearest signs that you are aging exceptionally well. Number 4. You can carry and manage ordinary weight in everyday life. This is one of the least celebrated forms of strength, and one of the most important. I am talking about carrying grocery bags, lifting a basket of laundry, holding a pot with both hands, bringing in packages from the front step, moving a light chair, reaching into a cabinet and putting something away without feeling like the task is bigger than you are. When people lose this ability, life becomes surprisingly complicated. They need help more often. They delay simple chores. Their home begins to feel less manageable. Small tasks pile up. Dependence increases, not because of a single dramatic event, but because ordinary physical demands become too much to handle comfortably. The ability to carry everyday loads depends on more than arm strength. It requires grip strength, shoulder stability, upper back support, core control, and balance. It also depends on judgment. You have to know how much you can safely manage, how to hold weight close to the body, how to move without twisting awkwardly, and when to make 2 trips instead of one smart but risky trip. Grip strength in particular tells us a lot. Weak grip is often a quiet warning sign. It can reflect general muscle loss, low confidence using the hands, pain, nerve issues, or reduced overall physical reserve. On the other hand, when someone can still open jars, carry bags, hold railings firmly, and manage household objects with control, it usually means a lot of systems are still working well together. There is also a psychological benefit here that people underestimate. Carrying your own things preserves self-respect. It reinforces the feeling that you are still capable. That feeling matters. It shapes behavior. People who feel capable tend to stay engaged with life. People who start to feel fragile often begin avoiding effort, and that avoidance becomes its own kind of weakness. I have seen older adults completely change their day-to-day confidence after small improvements in strength. Not because they became bodybuilders, but because they could once again lift a pan without worry, carry a few groceries, or get a suitcase from one room to another. Those wins restore something important. They restore the sense that life is still manageable. So, if you are between 75 and 85, and you can still carry everyday items without feeling unstable or defeated by them, take that seriously as a positive sign. It means you have preserved practical strength, and practical strength is the kind that protects independence. Number 3. You can bend, turn, and recover your balance without immediate fear. This is where aging becomes very real for many people. Not because they suddenly become weak, but because they stop trusting the movements they used to do automatically. Reaching down to pick something up, turning quickly when someone calls your name, looking behind you while stepping backward, getting around the edge of a bed, stepping off a curb, catching yourself after a small misstep. These moments are easy to overlook until one of them goes wrong. Aging exceptionally well often means you can still do these ordinary movements with enough balance and body awareness to stay safe. You do not freeze every time the ground changes. You do not feel disoriented when you turn. You may move carefully, but not fearfully. That distinction is important. Balance is not one single ability. It is a combination of vision, inner ear function, reaction time, leg strength, foot sensation, joint mobility, posture, and confidence. If any one of those pieces weakens, balance starts to look different. People widen their stance. They stop turning smoothly. They grab furniture. They avoid bending down. They move like the world is full of traps. But when balance is still good, you see it in small ways. A person reaches for something and comes back up without needing a long reset. They turn in the kitchen without bracing themselves. They catch a slight stumble instead of collapsing into it. They can stand still for a moment without swaying dramatically. They can step over clutter, navigate a threshold, or move through a crowded room without looking overwhelmed. This matters because falls do not begin with falling. They begin with loss of trust. Once a person stops trusting their body, their movement becomes stiff and hesitant, and that stiffness can actually increase risk. Confident movement is not reckless movement. It is coordinated movement. It is movement with enough reserve to adjust. One of the most practical signs of exceptional aging is the ability to recover from being slightly off balance. Not perfectly, not like a gymnast, but with enough quickness and control that a small mistake remains a small mistake. That is huge. It means your body still knows how to protect you. Balance can often be improved more than people realize. Gentle heel raises, standing on one leg while holding a countertop, side steps, marching in place, turning slowly and deliberately, strengthening the feet and ankles, working on posture, keeping vision checked, reviewing medications that may cause dizziness, removing tripping hazards from the home. These are not glamorous changes, but they are powerful. And if you can still bend, turn, and recover your balance between 75 and 85, you are preserving something precious. You are preserving trust between your brain and your body. That trust is one of the foundations of graceful aging. Number 2, you can remember, plan, and learn without withdrawing from the world. A lot of people assume aging well is mostly physical. It is not. A person can still be walking and lifting and moving around, but if they are becoming mentally smaller, more confused, less curious, or more avoidant, life still narrows. That is why the second sign on this list matters so much. When I say remember, plan, and learn, I do not mean having a flawless memory. Nobody has that, and certainly not in later life. I mean, you can still follow a conversation. You can remember the purpose of your day. You can keep track of appointments with reasonable support. You can manage familiar tasks. You can learn a new phone feature, a new recipe, a new route, a new card game, a new name. You may need more repetition than you once did, but you still engage instead of giving up. That is the key word here: engage. Healthy cognitive aging is not the absence of every memory lapse. It is the presence of mental participation. People who age exceptionally well keep using their minds in active ways. They ask questions. They solve small problems. They make decisions. They tell stories. They notice details. They stay involved in their own lives instead of handing over every task at the first sign of difficulty. There is a major emotional difference between slowing down and checking out. Many older adults still have far more mental strength than they realize, but they start talking themselves out of it. They say, "I'm too old to learn that. I'll never understand this technology. My memory is gone. You do it for me." Those sentences are not harmless. Over time, they can become a script for withdrawal. But when someone between 75 and 85 still approaches life with mental willingness, that is a remarkable sign. It means the mind still has flexibility. It means the person still believes effort is worth making. And that belief often protects the brain more than people understand. Curiosity keeps the mind moving. Attention keeps it sharpened. Practice keeps pathways active. One of my favorite signs of strong aging is when an older adult still wants to improve something. Maybe they want to learn video calling so they can see family. Maybe they want to organize old photos. Maybe they want to try painting, learn simple stretching, remember everyone's birthdays, or finally understand the settings on the television remote. Those may sound minor, but they are not minor at all. They are proof of continued participation. Planning matters too. Can you think ahead to what the day requires? Can you set out what you need? Can you adjust when plans change? Mental resilience often shows up in these ordinary decisions. It is not just memory. It is judgment, sequencing, and the ability to stay oriented in daily life. So if you are between 75 and 85, and you can still remember enough to function, plan enough to stay organized, and learn enough to keep growing, you are aging exceptionally well. Your mind is not finished. It is still in conversation with the world. And now, number 1. You still stay connected, useful, and emotionally alive. This, more than anything else, is the sign people overlook. Many assume exceptional aging is mostly about muscle, balance, blood pressure, and memory. Those matter, of course. But the people who truly seem to age best usually have something deeper. They are still connected to life. They still care. They still participate in relationships. They still feel needed. They still have a reason to get dressed, make the call, show up, help, laugh, listen, or offer something of themselves. I want to be very clear about this. Staying connected does not mean having a huge social calendar or constant company. It does not mean being extroverted. It means your heart has not closed. It means you have not emotionally stepped out of your own life. You still answer texts. You still return calls. You still ask other people how they are doing. You still notice what matters to the people around you. You still let yourself be part of something. A person can be physically healthy and still age poorly if they become isolated, bitter, disengaged, or convinced that their role in the world is over. On the other hand, I have known many older adults with aches, limitations, and slower bodies who still seemed deeply alive because they remained emotionally present. They volunteered, they encouraged others, they babysat grandchildren in whatever way they could. They checked in on neighbors, they joined a club, a class, a faith community, or a walking group. They still gave something of themselves. That sense of usefulness is not a small thing. It protects identity. It protects mood. It protects the will to take care of oneself. People are much more likely to eat well, move their bodies, keep appointments, and stay mentally engaged when they feel their life still matters to someone. And the truth is, it almost always does. But there is also resilience here. Emotionally alive people do not avoid sadness, grief, or change. They feel those things, but they do not build a permanent home inside them. They adapt. They find new rhythms after loss. They remain reachable. They allow joy to return. That is an extraordinary form of health. When I meet someone in their late 70s or early 80s who still lights up talking about a friend, a grandchild, a garden, a project, a trip, a recipe, a dog, a song, or a responsibility they care about, I pay attention. That spark tells me a lot. It tells me this person has not surrendered the deepest ingredient of healthy aging, which is involvement. Because in the end, exceptional aging is not just about adding years. It is about keeping meaning inside the years you already have. It is about staying interested, staying useful, staying in relationship with the world instead of retreating from it. So let's bring all 6 together. If you can still stand up from a chair with control, walk with purpose, carry everyday items, recover your balance, remember and learn, and stay connected to people and purpose, you are doing far better than you may realize. Those are not small abilities. They are major signs that your body and mind are still working together in the ways that matter most. And if 1 or 2 of these feel weaker than they should, do not hear that as bad news. Hear it as useful information. The earlier you notice decline, the more chance you have to slow it, improve it, or work around it wisely. Aging well is not about pretending nothing changes. It is about protecting what still can be protected. At 75, 80, or 85, the goal is not to impress anyone. The goal is to stay free in the ways that count, to rise from the chair, to walk into the next room without hesitation, to carry what belongs to you, to catch yourself when life wobbles, to keep your mind open, to keep your heart open, to still be fully here. I'm Dr. Olivia Hart, and if you can still do these 6 things, you are not just getting older, you are aging exceptionally well.